Who, in your opinion, are the 4 untouchable players on the 49ers? I bring this up because it's that part of the offseason where I start wanting to trade important players. And Niner fans are like, no, off limits. So who are the 4 untouchable players on this roster?
Yeah, to me, there's only 4, right? I think there's more players that Niners fans will put in there. I think the reality of the situation is, at the end of the day, as much as people don't want to believe it, the Niners themselves probably only look at 2 or 3 players on their roster as truly untouchable. The rest of them, if they've got a call about them, I'm sure they would consider it, depending on how serious the offer is. That's the reality of the NFL, whether or not, you want to believe it. And to me, there's only 4 on this team that I look at as truly untouchable. You wanted me to rank them. So the first player to me that's truly untouchable is Trent Williams. I don't care who calls about him. It doesn't matter. Like, this is Hall of Fame tackle. This is Jonathan Ogden, Walter Jones. This is, one of the best tackles we've ever seen. He makes their run game go. He makes their pass game go. He's phenomenal. He's unbelievable. He's worth every penny he gets paid. He's unbelievably special. And he plays a premium position, left tackle. Then the second would be Nick Bosa, right? Again, I think where Nick Bosa gets the edge from my other 2 is really he plays a premium position as well. He's an edge rusher. And really, there's no questions about Nick Bosa other than the fact that he's had a couple of serious injuries in the last 4 years, the core muscle and the ACL. Besides that, there's no questions about him on the field. There's really no questions about, with him managing his body or any of those things. He's always in tip-top shape.
He comes back stronger every time. It's amazing.
And he plays hard every down. He's unbelievable. One of the best players in the NFL. And then the other 2 to me, and I think you can kind of rank them differently, it's Fred Warner and Debo Samuel. Those would be the other 2 to me that are untouchable. Fred Warner, I think what he does in coverage, because I've seen this a lot, and I would like to go on to this part. I've seen the 49ers don't value coverage. They only value pass rush. And I asked this question on Twitter, is valuing coverage simply investing in a cornerback? Because the 49ers paid Jimmy Ward a lot of money. They paid Jaquiski Tartt in 2017 a lot of money after that 2017 season. And the guy that makes the 49ers good in coverage is 54, the middle linebacker. He's unbelievable in coverage. And they pay him $20 million a year. Like, Fred Warner is not the best, run-fitting linebacker in the NFL. To me, he's the best coverage linebacker in the NFL. He's what makes them go in coverage. So I think he's untouchable. I think he's unique. I don't think any other linebacker in the NFL can cover like him. And then the 4th is Debo. And we just talked ad nauseum about Debo's value. We don't need to say more about it. He's one of the most special players in the NFL. Okay. I don't know if I would rank him 4th. I think him and Fred Warner, because they both don't play a premium position, would be tied at 3. I think Bosa, Trent Williams, those 2 guys, I think those are the 2 best players on the team. And so, therefore, I think.
I like that. I agree with it. So the one player we didn't mention is George Kittle. And I would have to agree with that as well. I think he might have – at one point he was untouchable. But
no, he was. 2019, he was untouchable, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why they had to give him the contract they gave him 2 years ago. But since the contract, he's had – the injuries that are really alarming are the non-contact ones, the foot and the calf, 2 years. And it's not just that. It's that Debo's taking the play away from him. It's Debo's offense. So, like, this year, Debo got 21% of the targets. Next year, he should get 25. And that's only going to come at Kittle's expense. It doesn't mean that Kittle's not good, but I don't think the Niners really understood that they were going to be basically running their offense through Debo 2 years ago.
Right. And really, because, I mean, that's the thing, right? As good as Kittle is, the 2 guys, quote-unquote guys on this offense are Trent Williams and Debo Samuel. Right? They do creative things to make both of these guys a part of every play because they positively impact every play. And it's nothing against Kittle, nothing against Juszczyk, all great players.
I think it's getting hard to justify giving Kittle more targets than Ayuk. I think those 2 are neck and neck in terms of what they give you as receivers. Seriously. I mean, it's like their yards after the catch was identical last season. I mean, I don't think you can give Kittle 17% of the targets and Ayuk 11. I think they kind of have to be right in line with each other.
I don't think that what I will say about that is I don't think that's exactly a fair one-for-one conversation because the 2 players are getting covered extremely differently. Ayuk is seeing a lot of backside one-on-ones because of this run game and because of the way they line him up, sometimes alone as the X receiver. Kittle sees a lot more, double teams in zone and stuff like that. So I think Kittle gets a lot more attention than Ayuk. So, I mean, Ayuk is a hell of a player. You would expect him to have at least equal stats to Kittle, especially if, you know, Kittle and Debo command so much attention from opposing defenses.
Any other people we're leaving out? I mean, Trey Lance, he hasn't shown enough to be untouchable, but the investment they put into him would be hard.
Right, the investment makes him untouchable.
Hard to flip it at this point.
Yeah, the investment makes him untouchable.
It's like buying a Ferrari for $500,000, driving it twice. I mean, driving it off the lot, buying it new, driving off the lot, driving it twice, and then selling it back for like $300,000 because.
Well, you're not even sure. You're not even sure it's a Ferrari, right? It's
right.
You bought this car that that has all the potential to become a Ferrari, but you haven't seen it be a Ferrari yet.
Yeah. But you still spent $500,000 on it. And now, after really not even giving it a chance, you're going to sell it for $250,000. Now you played yourself.
Yeah, and what I want to say about Kittle, too, is just because he's not untouchable doesn't mean that I'm saying, oh, trade George Kittle or, you know, George Kittle should be
He's an albatross.
I think at this point, I think at this point in his career, given the injury history, given what his cap hit's going to be, given that the 49ers have to pay 2 more of their young superstars, massive, massive top-of-the-line contracts, and you have to think about, you know, how do we manage the salary cap to best build a roster to win a Super Bowl, you know, in the next year. If somebody calls you and says, we will offer the 10th overall pick for George Kittle, like let's say the Jets offer one of their top 10 picks for George Kittle, you have to at least consider it. You can't just put the phone down.
Top 10 pick for George Kittle? Whew.
Or
you can trade it for a player. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Birdman Jr. 86. Wow, this is Lil Wayne's brother? Stepbrother. Says, Coneheads riding with my boy Grant. Thank you. Neil says, I'd say 5. T. Will, Bosa, Warner, Kittle, and Debo. Well, my question is would Warner be – I mean, we cut out Kittle. Would he be the next one on the list?
I don't know if I would – I would go to Eric Armstead.
See, to me, the issue with Kittle is not about how he plays. The issue is age, injury history. He's 28. He's had 2 injury-filled years in a row. If he has another one coming up, his trade value is gonna plummet.
My thing is like
time is the essence.
It's not that Kittle. What we're not the untouchable player and the players that are in this class kind of gives people a different perception of what we're saying. We're not saying Kittle isn't the class of these players because he absolutely is. He's still one of the best 30 players in the NFL or whatever. He's fantastic. He's the best player at his position too when healthy. Yeah. But given the fact that you have to factor in his contract, you have to factor in his age. He's almost 30. You have to factor in the fact that he's had a history of injuries and he's not giving you full seasons.
Thank you.
Then if somebody calls you about George Kittle, you have to, you know, at least consider it. I mean, I guarantee you the 49ers don't even have 4. I guarantee you the only person they're not fielding calls or 2 is Trent Williams and Nick Bosa. I think everybody else, they would consider it.
I agree. Good point. I agree. Let's be honest. Trey is untouchable. We just mentioned that. Kittle traded after this year. Again, that's why I'm pushing it now. To me, I feel like if he has another 2020, if he has a redo of 2021, you could trade him next year, but all of a sudden teams are like, man, I don't want that contract. He's 30. He's been hurt 3 years in a row. Actually, I'm just saying. Am I wrong?
Yeah. So the thing with the thing to me, and what I will say regarding trading, actually, we're going to talk about it. So let's just wait. Yeah.
Vish, you got to consider sports media in your future.
Heck no.
It's a brutal business, man. It's so bad.
It's the worst business.
The worst business.